Hey everyone, this is Rob Phelan, also known as the Fi Educator Online. This is going to be a quick tutorial video on how to build your own budget in Google Sheets with an idea in mind of how much you want to spend in each category. So it can help you figure out like what should I be spending in the different categories of my budget, and then from there you can start building your own personalized one. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is open up Google Drive. So via Chrome or whatever your internet browser is, open up your Google Drive. And within there, either create a folder or just based off your home screen if you want. But we're going to do new, and we're going to create a Google Sheet. So within the Google Sheet, I usually like to call this My Budget or something similar. Put your name in it. If your teacher has already shared with you a Google Sheet template, then you're going to go with that. But if you're creating this from scratch, this is where you would start. So My Budget, I do recommend you bookmark it. So add it to your bookmarks tab, and then you'll be able to find it whenever you need to. So for updating it, for adding to it, for referencing it during your course, it's a great thing to just be able to add to your bookmarks bar and access really fast. All right, first thing we're going to need is our salary. So salary is going to go into this box here. I'm going to lightly shade it so we know which ones are going to be us and which ones are going to be computer generated. We're going to need to know how much income tax we are paying. And again, that's going to come down to us. We're going to want to know our net income, and hopefully you're familiar with that term by now, but that is your income after tax. And then I want to know my monthly net income as well. So monthly net income. This is usually the amount we have to budget with. So I'm moving quite fast. Please make sure you are pausing or rewinding the video as needed. If you're seeing this on screen in a classroom, make sure you're letting your teacher know if you need time to catch up. But hopefully you're all able to get a look at this. Formatting wise, you're going to make this as pretty as you want for how you're going to use it. So make sure that you are coming back and doing things like maybe bolding the top line if you would like, or adding different fonts, whatever it is you want to do. But you want to make this as usable for yourself as possible. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need is a salary that we're going to base our budgets off of. This is a really great tool for future salaries. So if you're in high school and you've only got a small amount of income right now, it's hard to budget that, or at least to follow a generic set of budgeting rules because you're not covering all of your own costs yet. So what I suggest you do is to do a little bit of research, figure out what a career might be that you're interested in, and then what would be the median salary for that career, maybe starting off, or median salary for that career in general. And we can use those numbers for budgeting. So for the sake of this, I'm going to assume a nice, let's say $70,000 salary. So let's assume that we're making $70,000. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cell, so B1, and if you hear me referencing letters and numbers, I'm referring to the individual cell. So this is column B, row 1, and that would give me the cell B1. And I'm going to format that as currency. So I'm going to use this format as currency button. So this is a little bit of a tutorial on Google Sheets as well as on how to build a budget. So I'm going to make sure I'm kind of referencing the commands that I'm doing as I go along, just in case there's something in here that you didn't know. All right, so our income tax. Now, hopefully you are figuring out taxes in class and you have some idea already. Sometimes when I do this with my class, we put in a generic tax amount here, and then we come back and update this number later. But for you guys, we're going to use a generic number of 22%. That's the average amount that a U.S. citizen pays in total income tax. So that includes your FICA taxes, your federal income tax, and state income tax. So that's the average according to the IRS that the average American pays. So we're going to use that one for now. So what we'll do is this is going to be our first equation that we're going to put in. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. So we're going to hit equals. This is going to start an equation for us. I want to select my salary cell, which is B1. When I hit it, B1 is going to pop up inside my equation. And to multiply, you're going to use the star symbol above 8. So Shift 8 to get the star symbol. This is our multiplication. And 22% as a decimal is 0.22. So if I do that, I would get how much tax I am going to be expecting to pay. So this is the average amount. 22% is an average amount. You will hopefully calculate your own taxes in class, and you can update this number once you have done so. Teachers, I have a bunch of great resources for that. If you want to check it out, head over to fieducator.store and you'll be able to see all of my income tax bundle resources that are perfect for helping students to do this. All right, net income. This is how much money is left after tax. So if you think about after tax, it means we subtract the taxes out. So we're going to do equal sign again. We're going to take our salary. We're going to subtract the income tax amount. Once it's there, hit enter, and it should automatically update this for you. So if you come back and you decide, you know what, I'm going to update the salary, I've changed my mind, I now want to work a career that has $120,000 as a median salary, all the numbers will update for you automatically. That's what we want to build here. We want to build something that will update as you make changes, and you don't have to go back and redo all of the stuff again. Okay, so when you do your taxes for real, like you might put a different number in, you might put a new formula in, whatever it is, that might change for sure, but our net income will always be salary minus expected taxes out. Our monthly net income, so this net income is how much you'd make after taxes in an entire year. Our monthly net income, as you imagine, is how much per month. So what we want to do is equal sign again, our net income. And to get it in for 1 month, there's 12 months in a year, so we are going to divide by 12. And that is a / for dividing, and then the number 12. So we would expect to make $4,550 in an average month. So this is assuming a salary job where our income is stable, or if you're thinking about unstable income, how much you make in a year, this would be on average how much you would make in a given month. All right, so next up, we're going to do our actual budgeting part. So what we're going to need is categories. So I'm going down to cell A3 and I'm going to do categories for my budget. I'm going to do a minimum percentage. So this is a recommended percentage that we should try and stay within, and a max percentage. And what we want to do is, let's bold our headings so we know which ones are headings. We can make our cells a little wider by grabbing that space between the columns. So if our words are a little bit bigger than the cell itself, we can make them a little bit bigger as well to match it. And what I want to do is I want to format these as a percentage. So I'm going to drag my mouse down to highlight the cells. I'm going to do a bunch of them. I'm not sure how many I'm going to need just yet. So I'm going to do 23 and over. So the two of these. And up here, you see this format as a percentage button. I want to click that one. So when I now type in a number, so say 60%, it will format as a percent for me, which is kind of nice. So down to 23. And the other thing I want to do is see up here, these decimal increase or decrease decimal places. I don't really care about having decimal places in my percentages. So I'm going to decrease that. So it's just a whole number. So decrease decimal. Okay. What we're going to need now is something to base this off of. So what are our categories and what are our percentages that we are going to use? What I suggest you use is one that I've created for you. Go to fieducator.com/budget percentages. So budget percentages. And when you get there, you'll get an article that I wrote about suggested budget percentages. If you have questions about what gets included in each section, you'll find all of those here. So like housing, medical, like what would you expect to include in each of these is a great reference point. If you are creating a budget, you're not sure like, okay, where do I put different expenses or what actually goes into each of these? And in that second line, there is this link for downloading a copy of this diagram. And what I want you to do is grab that. So grab it, it's free, no charge on or anything like that. Open it up, and then you're just going to copy paste it into your Google Sheet. So right click, copy, go back into your Google Sheet, and we're just going to tuck it over here in the corner somewhere. Get that nice and small so we can actually see it. We only need it temporarily, so we're going to delete this in a few minutes. to get it out of here, but the goal is that we can see all of the categories and what their percentage range is. So you can see like gifts and giving, 5 to 10%, food, 10 to 15%. This is how much of your net income should be going into these different categories. So our net income, how much we have coming into our bank account after taxes have been taken out. This is how we would spend it or how we could allocate it. So there's a minimum, maximum, recommended amounts. I do want to throw out the disclaimer that personal finance is personal. All of your budgets will look different to this one. It's like a one size fits all, but really fits none. So you will use this as a starting point, and then you will adjust it and manipulate it to suit your own individual needs, desires, and goals. So please make sure you're not feeling anything about like, oh, my numbers don't fit into this, or I don't do that, or I do more in this. It's totally fine. It's totally normal. This is just a nice starting point for figuring out, okay, well, how much roughly should I be looking to spend in some of these areas? So what I want you to do is type out those categories. Maybe start with the food one and make your way around the wheel. And then we'll copy over the minimum percentage. So that is the lowest number. So for gifts and giving, that'd be 5%. I'll just do one for you so we can see it. Food, minimum percentage is 10. Max percentage is 15. And then you would go down to the next one, so utilities, and keep going. I'm going to just kind of fast forward through that so you don't have to sit and watch me type. You pause the video until you are ready to see the rest of it. Okay, welcome back. So I've got my categories typed in. You can see some of them are a little bit bigger than the column. So I'm just gonna drag that a little bit wider until I can fit them all in. Fun trick, if you double click the space between the columns, it will auto size to the correct width to be able to see all the text. And then I've got my percentages in here. I did have to increase the number of decimal places for a couple of them because there were a couple of 0.5s in there. So for example, you may have typed in, you keep seeing this 3 pop up. If you go to it, just hit increase decimal places and it will allow for that 0.5 to pop in. Okay, so we are done with the graphic. You can either keep it or you can put it somewhere else. I'm just gonna drag it down here out of the way for right now. So a couple of things to note. These are suggested percentages, once again. If we want to spend the minimum in all of these, I would hit equals sum, S-U-M, and it's already auto-suggesting what goes in here, but put that first option, SUM, that's the suggested one. If you don't have it, I'm looking for this next one, SUM, so the sum of a bunch of numbers, and then you can actually select the ones you want to add together, because remember, sum means add. So sum of those numbers, close it, hit enter. So that'll be 74%, which means that there would still be money left over. Our goal with a budget like this is a zero-based budget. There shouldn't be anything left when we are done. If there's extra money, it should be going towards saving, investing, or some other goal of ours. There's no reason to keep extra cash lying around because we're giving every dollar a job. And if it doesn't have a job, then it's being wasted. It's not being used correctly. So it can be saved, it can be invested, it can be allocated towards other categories for long-term goals, for sinking funds, whatever it is. Same thing for the max percentage equals sum. So SUM. Now you can see the Google Sheets is really trying to guess what I want, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just want to make sure you're seeing what I am doing. You can just type this out, SUM parenthesis C4 colon C16, close it, and max 150%. So if you tried to spend the max in all of these categories, you would overspend your budget by 150 or by 50%. So that would be way too much. So the idea is that each of these categories are a range because you're trying to be somewhere inside that range so that when you add up all the percentages together of what you actually spend, it equals 100% of your monthly net income, not more, not less. All right, we need 2 more columns. So we got minimum amount and max amount. So this is how much we want to actually spend in dollars of our net income in each of these categories. So this is going to be a fun trick for Google Sheets. It's going to save us a lot of work. Equal sign. Select your monthly net income cell, which is H1, times, so shift 8, the percentage for the minimum for food. So same row, I'm looking at cell B4 right now. So that'll do my net income times 10%, and I get $455. Now it already formats the dollars because we have the monthly net income format as dollars, so it's picking up, oh, we want dollars here. Now the cool part is I'm going to go back into this formula. So see it up here in my formula bar, and where it says H1, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of the H and in front of the 1. What this does is it tells Google Sheets, I want to lock in on that cell. That one never changes. It's always going to be the net income box. And it doesn't change anything about my numbers, but what you can see now is it's starting to suggest what it thinks I want. And what I do want is I want to multiply all of these other percentages, so these other minimums, times that net income. If I go up to that minimum amount one that I just did for food and see that blue circle in the bottom, that is a copy contents function. But if you copy the contents that includes an equation, it usually will adapt the equation based on what you're doing. So by dragging this one down, what it should do is keep the monthly net income number the same and update it for the minimum percentage on each of those lines. So utilities is 5%, so it's half of the 455. Transportation 5%, same number. Clothing 1%. So you can see, okay, my numbers are all different based on the percentage. And then max amount, also kind of a fun thing. We can take that minimum amount cell. We don't even have to retype a formula here, and I can drag it to the right. So by dragging it to the right, the H1 cell is still locked in, so it's still net income, but by moving it 1 to the right, it also moves the percentage 1 to the right. So now it's multiplied by the max percentage. And then I can drag that one down as well, and it updates for the max amount on all those categories. So we can see my food budget per month is somewhere between $455 and $682.50 if I want to stick to the suggested budget amount. And that's a big if, because I know personally with my family, we blow that out of the water. For what our income is, our monthly net income, we spend closer to 20% of our net income on food. So groceries, restaurants, that sort of thing. And it's just because that is something that we value more as a family. Plus inflation has been particularly high and has been driving our food budget up. And we added another member to our family. So we now have a son who is also increasing our food budget. Not a lot, but a little bit. All right, we're going to need 2 more columns. We're going to need actual amount, or maybe let's call it budgeted amount. Budgeted amount. Make it a little wider. And budgeted percentage. So I know I'm switching the amount to percentage here, but you'll see why in a second. That needs to get a little wider. Okay, so budgeted amount, this is something that you are going to have to come up with. So if I'm thinking like, all right, I want to spend, let's say $500 on food. So I'm going to do 500. And notice that it's not formatted as dollars right now because I haven't been copying from anything else. So I'm going to select these and format as dollars. And then percentage wise, I'm going to do the same thing, but format as percentage. So then budget percentage, $500 is what percent of my monthly net income? That's the question. So how much am I budgeting for food? Equal sign, 500 or F4. So we want to use cells so that it updates, everything updates with it. So F4 divided by H1. And I'm going to put that dollar sign in again, so that I can just drag this formula down and it's always going to be dividing into that monthly net income box. I can just drag this one down right now. It's going to say 0 because there's nothing in these boxes, but as soon as I add numbers, it will pop up. All right, one other thing I want to do is down here at the bottom where I have these kind of total percentages, I want those totals again for up here so we can see how much I have budgeted and what's left. So equal sign, sum, and from F4 to F16. So whatever I'm actually budgeting should add up. And I want the same thing, equals sum, and all those percentages. So when we are finished budgeting, we should see that this number matches the monthly net income. And if you're not sure how much you have left, we can create a function for that. I'm going to move my graphic out of the way. So let's see. So we'll call this remaining income. So that will be our monthly net income, which remember is H1. So equals H1 minus the sum of everything we've spent so far. So we've got $4,050 left to budget still because we've only put $500 into food so far. So let's like go down here and pick a number between our min and max amount. So let's say utilities, I'm going to do 300. I'm just going to do nice round numbers for right now. Transportation, let's go 400. Clothing, let's go 100. Personal care hygiene, 150. Insurance, let's go 355. Subscriptions, 120. Entertainment and travel, let's go 300. We like to have fun. Housing, so I got to spend between 1,100 and 1,365. Let's go 1,200. Medical, 300. Pets, don't have a pet. I'm going to leave that 0. Saving and investing. So we want to go somewhere between 455 and 910. I'm really ambitious. I want to get my savings number up high. I want 900 in there. And gifts and giving, let's go 300. So putting in what I actually want to spend, I realize, oh, I've overspent by $375. I'm over budget. I can't afford all of this, what I want to do. So now you are faced with that reality of, okay, you have to adjust this. You have to make adjustments and sacrifices in some areas to support others. So maybe I come back to this. I'm like, you know what? I don't really care that much about clothing. Let's drop this down to $50 a month. And, I'll be saving that. And maybe I'll buy shirts, shoes, whatever I need with that. So I still got 325 to go down. Say, medical, I'm probably overestimating here. Let's go down to 150. I'm in good health. I'm young. Don't have to do anything. Let's see if we can keep that one low. Gifts and giving, we don't really need to spend that much. So I'm going to give some of my money. I'm going to save for some gifts like Christmas and birthdays and things like that. But, times are a little bit tighter right now. So let's go down to 250. And I can't really touch my housing because, that's a fixed expense. Or maybe you're like, I haven't shopped for housing yet. So can I do this cheaper or not? Entertainment, I think you're going to have to drop down a little bit because this is where we were kind of spending a bit more. So let's go down to 200. I still got to find $25. Maybe I can negotiate on my insurance to find that $25. So let's go with 330. Okay, so now this would be considered a zero-based budget. There is $0 left. Every dollar that came in has a plan, has a job, and we have allocated 100% of our budget. So we've got 10.99%, 26. So you can see where your money is being spent. As you go through your personal finance course, hopefully you dive into each of these topics. And as you learn more, so maybe you do some searching for housing, or you look at food, maybe you do like the meal plan project that I offer, or is it better to rent or buy housing project that I do, or plan a vacation, any of that stuff, you can then start adjusting these budget numbers and start getting closer and closer to what your actual budget might be. Now, if you're saying like, well, I kind of want to do a budget for myself right now, like I'm a teen, feel free to go back into that salary and adjust it. So be like, all right, I make, this past year, I made $4,000. All of our numbers update. You might say, well, actually, I don't owe that much in tax. Like 22% is way too high for someone making 4,000. I actually don't pay any taxes, or it's just FICA taxes. Let's drop this down to like $50. And so that means that we have monthly net income of $329. And you're like, well, I don't pay for utilities. My parents cover that. I have to put gas in my car, but I don't have any car payments or anything like that. So I'm going to allocate $50 in here. My clothing budget, I do like buying clothes, so that's going up. And you just keep adjusting the numbers until you get to the point where you're like, I don't have to, like I've allocated all my money. I'm meeting my goals. I'm going to set this back to where we finished, just in case you are still typing. If you have questions, please do send me an email or leave a comment on the YouTube video. I would love to answer those for you. Again, check out that blog post I wrote on the suggested monthly budget percentages so that you can see what goes into each category, and you can try and start figuring out how much you should be allocating into each one. All right, good luck, everybody. And I'll have a follow-up video for this pretty soon about how to actually keep track of your budget. So after you've made it, how do you figure out, well, what's left and how much have I put in and that sort of thing. Talk to you all soon.